welcome to online class. Hope you people are safe. This is Sheila, your computer application teacher. In last class, we saw chapter 16 part 1 electronic payment system. In that we saw what is electronic payment system, what is micro payment, what is macro payment. We also saw about credit card system, sent it the parts, the anatomy of your credit card. We saw the advantages and the disadvantages of credit cards, and today we shall see about debit card. What is a debit card? Debit card is a place where you have money and you debit money from that. Yes, the card holder will have money, and the money will be deducted for every products that I buy. We will be debiting from the account we have, from the amount we have. That is going to be termed as what? Debit card. Debit card is an electronic payment system card where the transaction amount is deducted directly from the cardholder's bank account upon authorization. Generally, debit card functions as ATM cards and acts as a substitute for the cash. Yes, it is, what is it? It acts as a substitute for the cash. The way of using debit cards and credit cards is generally the same, but for your credit cards you will have no money and you can transfer the money within a particular period, whereas in your debit card the amount must be there. Only the amount is there in the account, you can purchase things. That is going to be the difference between your credit card and the debit card. So debit cards and credit cards are identical. They are same in their physical properties. It is difficult to differentiate two by their appearance unless they have the term credit or debit imprinted. Currently, there are three ways of processing your debit card transactions. One is going to be EFT POS, also known as online debit or PIN debit. EFT means electronic fund transfer. Next is your offline debit, also known as signature debit. The other one is electronic purse card system. Next comes your stored value cards. What is stored value cards? Say for example, you would have went to March and you would have played, isn't it? In your play card, what will happen is the amount will be already being present in your card, and using that card you can play certain games alone. As you play, what will happen? The money will be deducted. Yes, that is what is actually called as what? Stored value cards. It is a type of debit card that is actually preloaded with certain amount with which the payment is actually made. It is a card that has default monetary value on it. The card may be deposited when the value is used or recharged to use it again. The major advantage of stored value card is that customers don't need to have a bank account to get a prepaid card. Just like that, you can go ask for a card which is of 200 rupees, or you can credit amount according to your will, according to the amount that you're going to play. Yes, and as the amount gets cleared, as you play, the amount will be detected, and as it reaches zero value, you can again recharge it and you can use it. There is no necessity that you have to have a bank account to use your stored value card. Like a credit card or a debit card, it is also a plastic and has a magnetic strip on its back. The magnetic strip stores the monetary value of the card. Stored value card may not have the card holder's name always. It is also indistinguishable from the regular credit or debit card in appearance. What look like a credit card or debit card act like a credit or debit card. It is used to make purchases offline and online the same way as in the credit card or debit card. There are two varieties of for stored value cards. One is going to be closed loop. Closed loop means what? Single purpose. In a single purpose, what happens is the money will be stored in the form of binary coded data, and these closed loop cards are issued by a specific merchant or a merchant group and can be used to make purchases from that specific place only. Say for example, your Reliance cards, you can use it only over there, and your mall cards, your game play cards, yes, if you're going to get it in Skywalk, you can use it only there, and if you're going to get it in VR Mall, you're going to use it only there. Yes, for a specific place alone. That is going to be one way. And what about open loop multipurpose? It can be used to make debit transactions at a variety of retailers. It is also called as prepaid debit cards. You can use it anywhere. Say for example, Visa gift card. Next comes your smart cards. What and all is your smart card? Nowadays, your ration card is also a smart card, isn't it? The modern version of a card-based payment is smart cards. Smart cards, along with the regular features of any card-based payment system, holds a EMV chip. Yes, we already know what is EMV. We saw in the previous class itself. This chip is similar to well-known SIM cards in appearance but differs in its functionalities. The advantages of your smart card is that it can provide identification, authentication, data storage, and application processing. See, your smart cards can be classified into contact smart cards and contactless smart cards. What it is actually, contact smart cards have a contact area of 1 square centimeter comprising of several gold plated contact pads. These pads provide electrical connectivity only when inserted into a reader, which is used as a communication medium between the smart card and the host. Have a look here. Once when the card is inserted, only the payment will be done, isn't it? This is your contact smart card. Contactless smart card, it is empowered by RF induction technology. Just like that, by you would have seen advertisements. Yes, they just stick on that receiver, and what will happen, the payment will be done just like that. These cards require only near proximity to an antenna to communicate. Even nowadays, in colleges also, for the attendance purposes, yes, people are using it. They can just show the card and they can enter in. Yes, smart cards, the signals will reach it, receive it, and they respond accordingly. In your cars also, you will have tags, isn't it? In the tag, you will have RFID, which is actually scanned, and the payment will be done automatically in your toll gates. Yes, smart cards, whether they contact or contactless card, they do not have any internal power. So instead, they can use an inductor to capture some of the interrupting radio frequency signal, rectify it, and power the card's process. Just have a look here. See how it is actually done. This is your contactless smart card. Just by showing it, what happens, the signal will be received and the payment or whatever it is done. Apart from card-based payment systems, there are many alternative electronic payment systems. With the advent of computers, network technologies, and electronic communications, a large number of electronic payment systems has emerged. Few of them are ECS, Electronic Clearing Service, EFT, Electronic Fund Transfer, Real-Time Gross Settlement System, RTGS, etc. They are used for rendering cash in domestic and international transactions. Next comes your Electronic Clearing Service. What is ECS? ECS can be defined as a repeated transfer of funds from one bank to multiple bank accounts or vice versa using computer and internet technology. Say for example, the school paying all the staffs working there. Yes, from one account, from school account, what will happen? The money will be deducted and it will be transferred to all the teachers, non-teaching, IMRs, all and all, isn't it? So that is what is actually what? Your electronic clearing service. From one bank account, it is being credited to one or more pay bank account. Another, there is no necessity that you have to be in the same bank bank itself. You can be in ICICI, HDFC, IOB, Indian Bank, Corporation Bank, etc. etc. From one bank account, it is being transferred to many other banks. Yes, the system provides the convenience of paperless payments. Advantages of this systems are bulk payments, guaranteed payments, and no need to remember the payment date. It can be used as institutions for making payments such as dispersing a salary, as I already told you, pension or dividend interest amongst shareholders. Similarly, individual bank customers can also make a small value repetitive payments such as paying EMI of a loan, electricity bills, telephone bills, insurance premium, as well as some investments. ECS can be used for both credits and debit purposes for making bulk payments or bulk collection of amounts. So ECS credit. What is ECS credit? It is used for making bulk payment of amounts. In this mode, a single account is debited and multiple accounts are credited. Yes, this type of transaction is actually called as push transaction. If a company has to pay salary for 100 employees, they can use ECS credit system. What about ECS debit? It is an inverse of your ECS credit. It is used for bulk collection of accounts. What is bulk collection of accounts? From many accounts it will be debited and it will be credited into a single account. This type of transaction is called as pull transaction. The insurance premium of a bulk number of customers is debited from customer bank accounts. Say for example, insurance company. They'll debit money from all accounts and they will be getting the money. Yes, that is one example for your debit, ECS debit. EFT is the electronic transfer of money over an online network. It is used. The amount sent from sender's money branch is credited to receiver's branch on the same day in batches. Unlike traditional process, EFT saves the effort of sending a demand draft through the post and inherent delay in reaching the money to the receiver. If a sender is sending a money from a bank branch, what happens is the receiver will receive it on the same day. EFT is generally is a method used for moving funds from one account to another in B2B business model. What is B2B? Business to business. Real-time gross settlement. Real-time gross settlement system is a payment system particularly used in the settlement of transactions between financial institutions, especially banks. As name indicates, RTGS transaction. What is RTGS? Real-time gross settlement. They are processed at real time. RTGS payment is also called as push statement that are initiated by the payer. RTGS payments are generally large value payment, that is high volume transactions. Real-time gross settlement transactions are unconditional. The beneficiary will receive funds regardless of whether he fulfills his obligations to the buyer or whether he could deliver the goods or perform a services of a quality consistent with the order. Irrevocable. What is irrevocable? A correctly processed transaction cannot be reversed and its money cannot be refunded. Once when the transaction is made, it is done. The money will not be refunded. That is what is termed as what? Irrevocable. Whether he delivers the goods or not, whether he provides a quality product or not, the fund will be given. That is unconditional. Yes, revocable, irrevocable is the money will not be refunded. Yes, electronic cash payment system is a currency that flows in the form of data. It converts cash value into a series of encrypted sequence numbers and uses serial numbers to represent the market value of various currencies in reality. Now let us move on with cryptocurrency, the types of currencies. Cryptocurrency, people, a unique thing always has a demand and acclaims a praise. See, this is going to be this cryptocurrency is a virtual currency, or it is termed as a digital asset. Yes, it is designed to work as a medium to exchange your exchange money using cryptographic algorithm. Yes, this algorithm, what is cryptography? Changing of plain text to ciphertext. Yes, this algorithm secures the transaction by recording it in a blockchain and controls the creation of additional unit of currency. It is also called as crypto coins. We call it as e-cash. We call it as alternative currencies, or we will even call it as virtual currencies, and they are classified as a subset of digital currencies. Your cryptocurrency can be classified as distributed accounting system based on cryptography, storing information about the state of ownership in conventional units. The state of ownership of a cryptocurrency is related to individual system blocks called portfolios. Only the holder of the corresponding private key would have control over a given portfolio, and it is impossible to issue the same unit twice. So what did we learn from this? Let me explain cryptocurrency in an understandable format now. Listen, see, people wanted to the transaction takes place all over the world, isn't it? So what happens is when a currency, when a rupee has to be transferred from one place to the other, it has to, if it is getting converted into a dollar, if I'm going to send it to US, isn't it? So what happens, if I'm going to transfer money from one format to other, what happens is we wanted to invest so much of money because they accept transaction fees for that. So to avoid this, what happened is they started creating a blockchain technique. Blockchain technique is nothing but whenever you make a transaction, what happens is it will be transferred in the form of blocks. Yes, it will be whomsoever is transferring from one place to the other, the money will be transferred in the form of blocks. Yes, and the database will also be maintained, and it is going to be decentralized. You know what is decentralized? It is not maintained by the government. It is not maintained by the government. It is actually away from the government, so it is not actually accepted here. This bitcoins, ethereum and all is not actually belongs to cryptocurrency. So what happens is now the rate of your bitcoins is around 7.15 lakhs. Your ethereum is around 17,000 or something. So what happened is, for making a common money, it is just going to be like a common money. So the transaction is, everything is going to be over the net itself. It is going to be digital, and what happens is, for making a common money, yes, let it be money, or let it be rupees or dollar or whatever. Yes, what happens, dinar, whatever, let it be, to make it common, we made it a cryptocurrency concept, which is actually completely decentralized. Cryptocurrency is also defined as crypto coins, e-cash, extra, and it is an alternative currency or virtual currency. They are actually classified as digital currency. See, your digital currencies and your cryptocurrency is entirely different. It is actually different. Yes, your digital currency uh, is centralized, whereas your cryptocurrency is decentralized. Centralized means it is actually taken care by the government, and only China is actually right now using digital currencies. See, the term cryptocurrency, bitcoins, the term cryptocurrency began to be used after the appearance of bitcoins. As I already told you, when we use the term cryptocurrency, we started using a common currency format, isn't it? That term is going to be your bitcoins or altcoins. Yes, it was actually most popular and the first decentralized cryptocurrency. I already told you it is not owned by the government. It is a Bitcoin payment system was actually developed in the year 2009. Right now, the rate of it is going to be 17.5 lakhs, I think. It was actually owned by an unknown person or a group under a pseudonym Satoshi Nakamoto. The SHA-256 cryptographic hash function has been used as a working function. Later, folks like Namecoin, Litecoin, Bitcoin Gold, and many other appeared. See, Bitcoin is the most popular cryptocurrency, but there are many other cryptocurrencies as well, which is actually referred as altcoins. Currently, more than 1,300 cryptocurrencies are listed, and 200 special cryptocurrency stock exchanges are also available. Most are based on different types of blockchain technology. I already told you what is blockchain. Many cryptocurrencies operate on the basis of same source code, in which authors may only find a few minor changes in parameters like time, date, distribution of blocks, number of coins, etc. Everything is same except for this. The parameters differs. The time in reaching, the date in reaching, or the blocks that we distinguish, and the number of coins for each and everything. See, for one, if you take Bitcoin, it is going to be 17.5 lakhs, whereas Ethereum is going to be 17,000. Look at the difference. So the difference will be based on amount also. Yes, these currencies are also called as fork. In fork, both cryptocurrency can share common transaction history in blockchain until the split. Now let us go on to altcoins. Altcoins is collectively a name for all cryptocurrencies that appeared after Bitcoin. After Bitcoin, whatever the currencies that we are using, we will call it as altcoin. The early altcoin, Litecoin and Namecoin, appeared in 2011. Their miners sought to overcome a number of problems inherent in Bitcoin. Litecoin has a higher transaction rate and use a blockchain technology in other areas. Many altcoins are inherently used similar to your Bitcoins in characteristics and structures, but some cryptocurrencies have significant differences. About 400 altcoins were used as dead and their values became zero. Though they are, we have said that 1300 more than different types of cryptocurrencies are available, 400 altcoins are not available right now. Until July 2013, the software of all cryptocurrencies except Ripple was based on open source code of the Bitcoin system. Since July 2013, cryptocurrency platforms began to appear to support various infrastructures like stock trading, shops, instant messengers, and so on. The crypto platforms include BitChess, Mastercoin, etc. In 2014, the second generation of cryptocurrency appeared, such as Monero, Ethereum, and NXT. The cryptocurrencies have advanced features such as hidden addresses and smart contracts. Mining. What is mining? The cryptocurrency units are created by the solution of cryptographic task called as mining. The cryptocurrency units are created by the solution of cryptographic task. That cryptocurrency units which was actually created as a solution of your cryptographic tasks called as mining. The miners not only generate new monetary units but also initiate new transactions to the blockchain. As a reward, they will receive new bitcoins. In terms of trade, the creation of cryptocurrencies may be related to ICO. What is ICO? Initial coin offer procedure. That is, ICO aimed at gathering the initial capital necessary for further development of the system. The initial value of cryptocurrency is just used the cost of consumed electricity. The second value is determined by the demand for the cryptocurrency. Now what happens is the buyer actually is creating a block transaction now. Yes, now hashing technique is applied. What is hashing technique? Hashing technique just generates a key for the cryptography. Yes, next what happens? The database is actually distributed further and it has a blockchain process at the end. So again, the buyer is the buyer to the seller, the content reaches. Yes. What is a blockchain? Blockchain are an open distributed book that records the transactions of cryptocurrencies between the two parties. I already told you, when a transaction is made, the transaction records will be maintained by the blockchains in an efficient and verifiable manner. It is continuously growing like records and they are called as blocks which are linked to each other and protected using encryption algorithm. The money that we send will not be known to anyone. It is actually encrypted. Yes, and it is protected using encryption algorithm. Each block typically contains a hash pointer, a key to address. Yes, hash pointer as a link to a previous block. It records the data about every transaction with its date and time. So whenever a transaction is taking place, what happens? The blockchain will record the each and every transaction with respect to date and time. Once record the data in any given block cannot be altered. Once recorded is recorded. You cannot alter the contents without the alteration of subsequent blocks. Blockchains are by default resistant to data modification without the approval of trusted authority. The validity of coins of each cryptocurrency is also provided by the blockchain. Since blockchains are safely designed with a high default, it is best suited to distributed computing system. Decentralized structure of blockchain solves the problem of double spending. What is this double spending? Like transaction cost that can be avoided using this cryptocurrency method. See, electronic wallet or electronic purse. It allows the user to make electronic transactions quickly and securely over the internet through the smartphones and computers itself. The electronic wallet functions almost same as a physical wallet in terms that it holds our money. Electronic wallets were first organized as a method for storing money in an electronic format and became the most popular because it is a convenient way for online shopping. Yes, with the development of advanced internet, the use of electronic wallets turned out to be an efficient transaction tool. This is evident by many e-commerce websites that uses electronic wallet as a transaction tool. There are several electronic wallet services that are now widely used. Your GPay, your Paytm, your PayPal, SBI Buddy, all these. What do we do is, you will just make an electronic
transaction through which the e-commerce is actually possible. Your online shopping and all is possible. Mobile banking and internet banking. As smartphones have already usurped uh, the place of digital camera and voice recorders, soon it will double up the virtual debit cards actually. See, what happened is, we as we started using the smartphone, we stopped using digital camera, we stopped using voice recorders also, because everything is there in the hand itself. Now virtual debit cards are also available in your mobile phone itself. As I order purchases, what do I do with the credit cards details that is actually available in your smart card itself? I can make any online transaction. It enables us to send or receive money instantly without any plastic cards. What about mobile banking? It is another form of net banking. The term mobile banking, it is called as m-banking, refers to the services provided by the bank to the customer to conduct banking with the aid of mobile phones. These transactions include balance checking, account transfers, payments, purchases, etc. Transactions can be done at any time and anywhere. See, using your net banking, what happens is, in your mobile phone itself you can do this. What do we do is, we will just check the balance. You can check the you can make an account transfer, you can make payments, you can purchase things. Yes, and your transaction can be done 24/7 from anywhere and any time. This is how your mobile banking through smartphone is actually done. The WAP protocol is actually installed on a mobile phone, which qualifies the device through an appropriate application for mobile session establishment with the bank's website. In this way, the user has an option of payment control over the account and remote management of his own finances. Mobile banking operation can be implemented in the following ways. How and all it can be made: contacting the call center or automatic IVR telephone service, or using a mobile phone via SMS. Internet banking is collectively a term for e-banking, online banking, virtual banking, direct banks, web banking, and remote banking. Internet banking allows the customers of a financial institution to conduct various financial transactions on a secure website operated by the banking institutions. It is actually fast, and it is a easiest way to perform any banking transactions. You need not go stand in a line to make any transactions. Yes, you can do it by just sitting in a place. In fact, it is like a branch exclusively operating on an individual customer. Of course, yes, when you sit and do your work in your own system or your mobile, your transaction is going to be like one to one, right? So you will have that feel only. The online banking system will typically connect to the core banking system operated by the customers themselves. What is advantages? They are the payments is made by the at the convenience of the account holder and are secured by username and password. With internet access, it can be used from anywhere in the world at any time. See, your internet banking, for your user convenience, what happens? They give user ID and password, and it can be accessed. Your internet can be accessed from anywhere in the world. A standard browser is important. Internet banking does not need any installing additional software. You need not initialize any new software. The following are the steps to transfer your net banking. So first, what you have to do, you have to get into the net banking account using your unique user ID and password, which is actually provided by the bank earlier. Add the beneficiary as a payee to enable transfer of fund to whom you are going to send. Yes, the following details like account number, IFSC code is all have to be filled. Yes, once the beneficiary is added, what mode of fund you are going to transfer, that has to be selected. Select the amount to be sent and to whom you are going to send, and enter the amount to be sent. Yes, then click on submit. You will receive an OTP in your mobile number, and what happens on giving it, what happens, modern electronic fund transfers transfers are secured by a personal identification number, your PIN number, or your one-time password. An automated clearing house process the payment then. Next comes Unified Payment System. It is a real-time payment system which is developed by a National Payment Corporation of India to facilitate interbank transactions. Why do we use this Unified Payment Interface? It is just to facilitate interbank transactions. It is actually simple. It is very secure, and instant payment facility is also available. This interface is regulated by Reserve Bank of India, and they are used for transferring funds instantly between the two bank accounts through mobile devices. Like traditional e-wallets, which take a specified amount of money from the user and store it in a own account, UPI withdraws and deposits the funds directly from the bank account whenever a transaction is requested. So what happens, like a traditional e-wallet itself, which takes a specified amount of money from the user, store it in a own account, your UPI withdraws and deposits the fund directly from the bank account whenever a transaction is actually requested. It also provides peer-to-peer. Peer-to-peer means one group to the other or one-to-one. Collect requests which can be scheduled and paid as per the requirement and convenience. Yes, your UPI applications are of two types of addresses. One is going to be global, the other one is going to be local. Global address includes bank accounts and IFSC. Local address is going to be virtual payment address. What are the advantages available? Immediate money transfer happens, and you can transfer money around any time from 20. It is completely available for all 7 days, 24 hours. You can use single mobile application for this, multiple banking accounts, and single click authentication for transferring of fund, and it is not required to enter the details such as card number, account numbers, IFSC code for every transactions. Yes, your electronic payment will become much easier without requiring a digital wallet or credit card or debit card. What about cash on delivery? Cash on delivery, you people already know. We purchase things and we pay it later. Yes, for the goods, after they receive only, what will happen? We will check for the contents and then only we will pay. That is going to be termed as what? Cash on delivery. Yes, children, with this your lesson just gets over. Furthermore, you have 2 lessons to complete. We will complete as early as we could. Write your 2 marks, 3 marks alone in your classwork notebook and submit it on Wednesday. Thank you, children.